it's a true story or if it's a muhsa v'chusa, that there was this fellow that he came to visit Lakewood from Borough Park, and his father used to learn in Lakewood, and he was running around the dorms. He was looking for the room that his father used to stay in. So people asked him, what are you looking for? So he says, Chazal say, Yaakov Avinu, this week's parsha was a taina efshesha avarti hamakom shespalo by avoisel spalo by. He wanted to chap a mincha in the room over there to get the place where his father davened, in the dorm. But Rashi says this week's parsha. Rashi says Yaakov Avinu came ve'ivka b'makom yolun sham. Chazal learned out what's kiyuv. He is doch tefillah. And Rashi says a whole cheshbon that Yaakov Avinu said a taina efsher that I was maver on a makom she'spalalti be'avoisel spalo by kendoch netzayin. And Yaakov Avinu came back to daven in the place where his father and his grandfather davened. Yitzchak said Yitzchak l'such b'sadeh, that was Har Maria. And by Avram, he also davened the state al makom she'erasham, that was the Har Maria. So the shaila is, it's interessant zach. What's up is dafka by tefillah. We find there's such a thing as a makom, as a place. There's no other thing that we find b'chlal that a makom has an eichus, b'negeya, kedusha, or that there's such a thing a person could be elevated and be kaveya a makom. This is the tefillah that has this nakuda. Ubi Yosef, the Gemara Brachas Daf Zayin and the basic Gemara says, "Chol kaveya makom l'tefillah zoi is Elikei Avram be'Ezroi." If a person's kaveya makom for his tefillah, Elikei Avram be'Ezroi. What does that have to do with Avram Avinu? Al tashayla chayre this. Sotas mit Avram. Yaakov was masakin married. This was Misal Mincha. Tefillah was something that all the others had a part in the takana of the tefillah. So I was just thinking a short word. We find, it says by one other place, I don't know if there's too many places in the Torah, we find one other place in the Torah where it says that the makom itself has an eichus. It says by Avram Avinu, when he bought the Baras HaMachpelah from Ephraim, so the pasuk says, Vayokom stay Ephraim asher b'machpelah asher lifnei Mamre hasodeh, the field, v'amora, and the cave asher boy, v'chol ha'etz asher b'soda asher b'chol gvul saviv la'Avram lemikna. The Avram bought the field, and Vayokom the field, the ma'ora, all the eitz asher b'soda svivoy. It says it was Vayokom la'Avram. Zong Chazal, what's Vayokom? Vayokom means tekuma hisaloi. It had an aliyah. The field had an aliyah. Sheyotzo miyad hedyet to the melech. And the field went out from the yad of a hedyet to the yad of a melech. Ephraim was a hedyet, Avram Avinu was a melech. So there was a transfer of ownership from a hedyet to a melech. The chappel because we don't see any organizations that are still avek in order to buy karka from goyim. Let's buy stuff from goyim just to elevate the karka. We're worried about our own aliyah. We're not worried about aliyahs of a sada. Not only that, Avram Avinu got from Mitzrayim Kesev, Zov, Avodim, Gemalos, Tzoin, Bakar. You don't see the Torah specified before that these nechasim, these objects that Avram Avinu was koined, there was a Vayokom. What's the pshat? That punkt over here states Vayokom, and it says not only Vayokom was on the Ma'ora, it was on the Ma'ora, V'asodeh, V'chol Eitz Asher Svivoy. The Tkuma was something that was all around that wasn't able to be contained b'chlal. So the Chayra state as Chazal say that the Rebbeinu Shalom told Avram Avinu kumis alech ba'aretz l'rochba. So Chazal say kadei she'enoich likovish libonov. That the Rebbeinu Shalom told Avram Avinu to go around the Gan Eretz Yisrael. Why? Because that would make it easier for his children later on. They wouldn't conquer Eretz Yisrael. It would make it a lot easier for them to conquer. Zok the Meshech Chachma, what's the pshat? That since Avram Avinu went all around and was makar of people, he brought people closer to the Rabbeinu Shalom by walking around, by traveling and being mefarsim the Shem Hashem. That's how he was makar of people to the Rabbeinu Shalom. Memela, he had a koyach by his walking to be koivish and to make it easier for his children later on to conquer the land. Because he was mefarsim Shem Hashem, by his walking around, that itself had a koyach she'inoich likovish libanav. The pshat is that every time someone does something, if there's no ulterior motive, if the motive itself is in constant l'shem shemayim, that gives a koyach, not only in the ruchni, that gives a koyach a person could bring up the gashmi which is around him and bring it closer to the Rebbeinu Shalom V'Salah. When Avram Avinu got from Parai, he got the kesef, zav, avodim, tzoyin, that was his own use. If there was any usage for himself in it, on that voltage kishtan vayokom. By stay machpelah, which Chazal say, I'm saying halachas mavur, that it's a kaver is also ba'ano. A person buys a kaver, it's also ba'ano. You're not allowed to be nana from it. It's something exclusively we know, which goes into the term of chesed shalemes. When that kaver was bought, that was totally done without any having any ulterior benefit for himself. Of them state vayokim stay Ephraim, that the sodeh itself had a tkuma. Tefillah is one thing which we know is b'yesodei a total ruchni. Tefillah is a total ruchni that a person expresses himself and reconnects with the Rebbeinu Shalom. On Tefillah state as was that kol hakavei mokum l'tefillah selekei Avram be'ezra Avram Avinu, that had the koyach with his asiyah since he was mefarshim Shem Hashem on kol ha'olam, he had the koyach to actually be kavei a gashmi, which is a mokim for a mokim tefillah to mekadosh it. The Bin Elitim says that the school of davening in a Beis HaKnesses, in a shul, is number one. You have the tefillah b'tzibur, you have the koyach d'schus harabim, and number two, which he says is the most important, is that the mokim that was mikveh as a place to connect and to mahal and to praise the Rebbeinu Shalom, that place itself has a school to help out the tefillah, that we should be reconnected and should be niskabel. That's the koyach ha-tefillah of a mokim. So Memela, when Yaakov Avinu went by, he said, Avram Avinu, that it says, was Kaveya, this mokim for a mokim tefillah. The mokim was a skadish, that it's easier for the Rebbeinu Shalom to connect to the Rebbeinu Shalom, and the tefillah should be in the skabel. That was the mechayev that he should go down there. This yisoid is the yisoid in everything. You know, you look around, it's very interesting. I'm sure everyone had this question. I know the derech is that you say somewhat of a hesped on the kollel after we finish the drasha. It's very interesting that a lot of people opened kollels a lot over the years. There was a lot of different openings and a lot of different beautiful things that were done. That people still avek to makara people to the Rebbeinu Shalom, that people should be solid avodah. But the phenomenon that we see over here, that this one kollel was opened and it spread all over and it continues to spread, is something which is unbelievable. And be say that there's no pshat. Now, what's the pshat is when there's a mokkah was avek shtelt. I don't know how many kollel fartagos, so early it was that shtelt avek. When people get up to learn early, this b'yesayda over there, it's totally pure. There's no ulterior motives. There's nothing that's machayev a person to get out of bed as early as he does, and still a person gets up. So Azam Mokim has the koyach to be niskadish and ganzen, and the same way it says by V'yokim stay Ephraim, who's asodav amorah v'chol eitz. Such a thing could spread out and has a koyach that it's not mugbal to spread out. We should be zeicher to continue in avodas Hashem, to mechazek itself, ad b'yis koyach.